It's a beautiful day to blaze some good, a beautiful day to blaze some good. Would you be kind? Please light mine.
Roll up.
All right. All right. Welcome to this week's episode of Beans and Greens. And, well, today I'm smoking on Skittles. It's fire. I keep meaning to put up like pictures of the buds so I could show it. I got this one big fat bud. I'm gonna put up a picture next podcast. And I do have another one coming right out. A few days late with it, but still coming with it. Also, still drinking on the Nescafe coffee. It's always dirty ass cup, but it's all good. Last few weeks have been pretty trying. You know, just as a person trying to make it in the world, there's some personal tragedies and things like that going on. And then just socially, right? We as a group have taken so many hits. And I guess, to go into further what I mean when I say we as a group have taken so many hits. It's just, it kind of goes into this week's movie. It's going to double feature as well. So we look at one of our young brothers who had to fend for himself and in order to get away and what now we thought was two people, turns out it may have been more than two people. He had to defend himself. Jug's one of them. 35 years. And we have another young brother. Supposedly stole a water. I mean, did he have the water? And if he did have the water, why shooting him in the back? Sort of the appropriate, the appropriate. That was the appropriate response. I mean, right? It's only a nigga, right? I can't even say nigger. Yeah, it's only black people. Who gives a fuck, right? I mean, you had this whole thing with Karen culture. You know, sort of what we call the unfuckables, because that whole Karen. Every time you look at this whole Karen's. It doesn't matter what country. It always seems like the ones that aren't getting fucked the most, the ones that ain't getting none, have to sort of release that pent up, release that sexual attention by carrying it out. And of course they don't. It's crazy. They just don't do it to black people and Hispanic people and Asian. They do it to themselves too. You know what I'm saying? There is some white on white Karen going on. Karening. Then we have a little young brother now who's in the hospital. The video footage of him getting choked out. That's just some of the losses of what I'm talking about. Now, one of the things with this podcast, or the thing, as far as with the movies, they sort of have to reflect what's going on in society right now. Sort of have to see in the movie what's going on right now, right? So for the movie that we review this week, this is an ideology that's being communicated through this movie. And let's go into this. So, the first Purge. It wasn't the first Purge movie, but this was sort of a prequel. This was sort of what they used as the catalyst in order to implement a nationwide purge. And we see this playing out in the movie. And the whole idea of the first Purge was just a petri dish, an experiment, right? So, who could you get? Who would be most likely to take part in such an experiment? Who's most likely to say, "Oh shit, you get 12 hours, no laws. You can just do whatever, and in that whatever you do in that time doesn't matter. As long as you do it within that time. And after that time, then you'll be prosecuted for the shit if you still keep doing it, right?" Who would take place or take part in such an experiment? Let me guess. Now, I mean, of course, I mean, they put this shit in movies, yo, and it's like, so obviously, what I'm referring to in this movie, the purge is something it's a program that's been created by a doctor, by a scientist, by social engineer. And I hate the fact that it had Marissa Tomei as the scientist of this experiment, because I've watched her shit for years, man, and she's in the movie obviously, and she is the scientist that creates that experiment, and she's been awesome in every other movie. I mean, come on, Spider-Man, My Cousin Vinny, why this? Anyway. For an experiment on something they want to implement nationwide, where do they always start with the experiments? But a community, right? So we're going into the hood in Long Island. I'm surprised they didn't have Wu-Tang more like in the soundtrack. I don't know if they did. They might have had Wu-Tang in the soundtrack. I didn't listen to the soundtrack, but anyway. In movies like The Constant Gardener, they coerced the black people into these experiments and forced black people into experiments. How? Economics. So let's go to the first purge. How do you entice people to purge? Or how do you even entice people to endure the purge? Because that's also it. Because obviously not everybody has the ability. They have the ability to go out and actually do harm to others. But do you have the ability to endure the fact that that's going on, and the fact that you may have to be able to defend yourself? Because it's all of those dissenters. They're the main ones, because the psychopaths could vote yes, and it's not going to amount to as much. So that's the whole thing. It's not only take place in the purge, but endure the purge. How do you entice people? Of course, we see in the movie, you get $5,000 for staying on Staten Island that night, and then if you participate, they didn't say how much, but it said that you could get more money based on that. So, see, now this movie is communicating a few different things, right? And it's wild because it's something positive in all the bullshit, and I'll go into that in a moment. But now you set the circumstances, you provide, you provide the money or the enticement of money in order to participate. So boom, you have it going on. Now, one of the things that the movie sort of communicates that's so weird that they would put that in there, sort of, when the time came to actually go and purge, the black people that in these neighborhoods weren't purging. Yo, son, this cats was partying. You know what I'm saying? They had purge parties and shit. And you did have your few psychos. You know what I'm saying? You had people that wanted to rob, and you had the drug dealers and stuff. So of course you had, but they were small compared to the amount of people that lived there. You know what I'm saying? You had people that held up in churches and just to try to get through the night because, at least if they could make it through the night without having to deal with that, they'd be able to have that $5,000. You know what I'm saying? And that could really propel them forward in life in some way. Especially, you know what I'm saying, this is New York. And even back when this movie was created, New York was still expensive. It's probably ridiculous now. I just remember when I was there, I had no idea of what was cheaper or not cheaper, it's just what was. So it's like leaving New York and living somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? You hear all the different stories and of prices, and you get people coming from there, and it's like, damn, how much? So it's just wild, right? We know that it's highly expensive to live there. So if you have people that live in this area and you entice them with money to endure all of this, they're not seeing the consequences of their actions. They're seeing spending that money and being able to live a better life, hopefully. But one thing that, like I said, the movie shows, people aren't purging. Now, of course, you have the organization that implemented this experiment. They're watching, and that didn't work for them. So what they do? Now, whenever your black people on the plantation aren't acting right, what do? You send in the overseers. So the black people on this plantation, Long Island, weren't acting right. So they were killing and just being as savage as the powers that be knew we were. You have your few psychos. Again, you have a few drug dealers. You have your few, you have your druggies. They had that one Skeletor. He was a psycho. I don't really know. You have a whole lot of people like that in the hood, but of course you could unleash him on the public, right? And it was funny. What was one theme that we always see? And there are a few themes that we see in all the different movies from each one that I'm talking about, but what's one theme that we see? The use of media in order to affect a certain outcome in society as a whole. So now you see when that Skeletor guy, he killed his first guy, they blasted out immediately, right? You see, these people are savage, this, that, and the other. But the problem was, it was only one. And there were some other ones, but it was just basically people It was. I mean, it was still fucked up, but when the guy was going to rob the store, he shot the people in front of the store, this, that, and the other. So it's not that, but it wasn't to the point savage as the Skeletor cat was, right? So they needed more, right? So what they ended up doing was, like, again, like I mentioned before, the overseers. They sent in the overseers. So now you have all these guys in military regalia. Regalia. What kind of fucking word is that? You got all these people in military shit, and of course the KKK shit. And now the massacre happens. I don't know if that's like, I don't know for sure if people understand that this is literally what's happening right now. So, in order for them to show or change the outcome, and then present the purge as something that should be implemented nationwide, you send in the overseers to make the slaves act right, and that's when people started getting slaughtered. Of course, now this is a movie, so obviously it's not happening in real life, but duh, it really is. I mean, you look at it on a daily basis. So you have, like the ones I mentioned, you had the Chinese guy that chasing a young kid out of the store because he supposedly stole the water and shot him up. Now you also have, there was a white gentleman shows up to a pool party, pulls, and this is black people at the pool party, pulls out an AR-15. I'm saying, nah, that's not even the same guy who walked up to a party, got into an argument with the people there, left, came back in armor and shot up the party with an AR-15. Those are two separate incidences. So, I don't know, purge or not. I'm I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Asian man shoots 6-year-old for playing in his yard. This is 6 days ago. This is not even the same thing as the Chinese guy in the store that chased down the young boy. Let's see what else we have. Oh yeah, there was a 1-year-old shot because the cops were shooting at the mom for stealing something from Walmart. I mean, justified, of course. Oh, here's this. There's these two young white gentlemen. They murdered a young black man. They walked free. This happened in Texas 4 days ago. It's this guy, black guy, not Carmelo. Of course, we all know Carmelo deserved what he got, right? Of course, that. There's another guy. He was convicted of shooting a drunk white guy who attacked him. So the guy was drunk, attacked him. Bow. He went to jail. I don't know. It's crazy. You know, the North Carolina young man in North Carolina attacked. I mean, mob. It was a mob of white gentlemen attacking one black man. I don't know. Purge anybody? Let's see. Oh, there's a whole separate one. We're talking about two young white gentlemen that killed a young black teen. Oh, there's another one in Paris, Texas. But they didn't just kill him; they lynched him. So I'm sure they were justified in hanging. Yeah. I mean, this is just in the last few weeks. So if a movie like The Purge isn't communicating an idea, I'm at a loss for words. Now this is obviously not new. That's the fucked up part about it. This is completely 100% the same thing every year. So that goes sort of now into the second part, right? Because we also know that the purge isn't just directed at black people. Just the only difference is that even though, you know, those others that are being affected by the purge, they still, for some reason, some odd reason, I mean, some completely odd reason, hate us, black people. I mean, I can say it's completely reasonable, I guess. It's pretty wild, right? Because in this climate that we're in right now, this sort of, well, just to say it out, because this is something, again, conspiracy podcast, right? And back in the day, there he's still around, but they really fucked him over pretty much. Now he's pretty much a joke. He's been silenced. But back in the day, Alex Jones did have some straight documentaries, and one of the one he had was called Police State, and he described an environment where basically the police would just be pulling people off the street for whatever the circumstances are and locking them up indefinitely. There were various things that were prescribed described as a reason for these things going on, but now keep in mind, this is early 2000s that these documentaries came out describing this stuff, and we back then is like, nah, this is 40, 50, 60 years down the line. It wasn't. Because, again, these movies that I talk about have to reflect what's going on in society at the time, and we see that going on now. So, just to go back to what I was talking about with the previous movie, how the purge has always been going on, we now go to the next movie, the Forever Purge. This has been the Forever Purge, and in furtherance of that purge, we have to now move over to our Brown brothers, right? Because these movies are communicating that, one, when we talk the first purge, even all the other purge movies, we can go down each purge movie. and those movies were to communicate what we were doing at the time. This is now what's going on. This is what we're doing. And this is the time to start. Now, let's get to the Forever Purge. Because, again, like I said, it wasn't just about black people. It's about all of us that are not. I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy thought. Because now what we see in this movie, we have a purge. And then we're in the Texas area. So we're focusing on Mexican immigrants. And the main theme of the movie was fuck the ending of the purge. We're going to purge out whoever isn't deemed American, and it's going to be forever. They're going to cleanse America of basically undesirable. And that's what this movie was basically showing, is a cleansing from their point. Where are we not seeing this in the news? Where we're not seeing this in... Let's go back to what I was talking about with in the first purge, the Karen encounters. Oh man, the Karen encounters are, and the first thing is I'm calling ICE, the overseers. See, they didn't just have overseers for us; they have overseers for everybody. And even in the movie, what are some of the things that you saw with the first purge? That these it's even hard to call these people provocateurs, but in the first purge, the army that was sent in, the Klansmen that were sent in, those weren't just Americans; those were foreigners as well, right? So now you have the purge, which is over with, right? The 12 hours came and went. And you had your Forever Purgers. This is what they were called themselves. Forever Purgers. Went on a tear and tore up the country, right? And in the Mexico area, they were going after Mexicans. They were just getting rid of immigrants. And all of the stuff that they were saying about cleansing America, making America for white people. I mean, this is stuff that you're hearing now coming from these different movements. So this movie came out before. I mean, we've always seen that, but it's been an uptick since the new administration. So, again, conspiracy podcast. The idea of this movie is, again, to communicate what's now going to happen. It's a call to arms. Both movies. And you see, again, in this movie as well, what drove Mexicans to America. You know what I mean? Economics. The main protagonist in America had some dealings with, having to. They had to get their guns up in their country, to fight, to lose everything. Economic pinch pushes them towards America, and there was already sort of just as we had an underground railroad as far as black people, they have their own version of that. It's not the same thing, but I mean but they have their own, and we see that because they show up in just a dilapidated building. Next thing you know, they're underground, and they're walking in these caves, and they end up in America. And the illest shit was when they first, when the couple, because it was a couple, first get to America. The young boy that traveled it, that guided them through that tunnel, tells them if there's ever any trouble, and it gave him this card with this flower to follow the flower, follow the symbol. And that guided them in the movie. That later, following that symbol, guided them to. So, it guided them to be able to escape and to come across people that were able to help them get out of America. Because honestly, at that point in the movie, what we see is that these forever purgers have taken over. They've even to the point where they overrun the military, the ruling military at the time in El Paso, the area that this movie was, where the area of the plot was. The forever purgers were able to overtake the military, so they had to go underground in order to leave America because they were closing down. It was crazy because with the forever purgers taking over America, they had to shut America down, and where the only places Americans can go to get away from that was Canada and Mexico. So the idea that people that once came here to get away from their oppressive governments, and in the case of Mexico, I don't know if it's necessarily oppressive, but just to have a better life. And the same thing with Canada. I don't think they necessarily all come here to immigrate here, but as far as coming to visit. But the idea that we now have to rely on these two countries when we were the ones that were the ones. So it's sort of transposing, or this juxtaposition of our position in the world, right? As far as being a safe haven, being a beacon, being of good, and we're seeing that played out. We see that's actually for a while now our place in society, our place in the world, our standing really seemed to have gone down for a long time with the last administration didn't help, and this one just sort of took that shit into high gear. But all of the previous administrations, including the current one, they've all sort of worked really hard to kill the cachet we had in the world. But we did, we did sort of hit the jackpot with the World Cup, because there is a lot of positive feedback about America from the Europeans that come over here. So that does help us a lot, especially since we're taking a hit with these wars going on. But that's external. Internally, what these movies are essentially communicating is that there has been a call to arms. And honestly, the call to arms, it's the people depicted in these movies actually doing this stuff sort of does reflect the people that are actually doing this in society. Because again, we go back to the Forever Purge. We weren't fucking trying to go out there and slaughter our neighbors. Of course we have, of course they have gang wars and shit like that, but that's gang shit. You know what I'm saying? Those are people who have decided that they were going to it sort of take part in this activity that could result in death, could result in the fact that they would have to take life. And of course, it's collateral damage. I mean, I know I remember watching The Godfather. I could bring that one up. Let's take a better one. Let's take another one. Let's look at Goodfellas, right? When they robbed the airplane terminal, right? And what was the character? Jimmy. I think it was, yeah. Because the character that De Niro played in Goodfellas was an actual person. This is based off real life. Maybe the circumstances and the names are different, and they took the story and sort of made it movie-tized the story, basically. They did that, but it was actual what happened where they did actually rob the Lufthansa. And at least in the movie, we know that the head guy, Jimmy, the one that was half Irish, half Italian, he I think he was Italian. I think Henry Hill was the half Italian, half Irish. But yeah, Jimmy was full Irish, but he was, you know what I'm saying, he was that dude, made money for them, whatever. The people that robbed the airplane terminal for all that money are coming up missing, right? They're coming up missing, coming up dead. Wasn't that white on white crime? Wasn't that a white guy killing another white guy? So I just don't understand why Italian mobsters and Irish mobsters and shit, the Chinese gangs and the Japanese gangs, they all are revered for, in their movies. They're revered. And we speak about these different organizations, these different groups in glowing terms, but ain't the same fucking thing. They killed each other because they were at war with each other. So we're the ones that, for some reason, are seen as savages. And even in that movie, they had to put that when it was time for us to be such a savage, he was like, fuck that. Let's just chill, party, get through it. And then the agent provocateurs had to be implemented in order to present that outcome that the company that was initiating this experiment needed in order for it to go nationwide. Then, as you see with all the different Purge movies, this one experiment in Long Island was the precursor to all of those different ones. Then it got to such a point that killing like that and destroying society like that was no longer taboo. And now you have those who, through media manipulation, were of the mind that this country, first off, there's no need to stop the purge. Second off, we need to keep purging in order to cleanse America of the people that we don't want. And from that point, they were able to destroy America. They were able to destroy the fabric of America. So to the point where they had to lock down this country. Like I said, Purge movies were just basically a call to arms. It's a call to arms. And we're seeing it played out now. Now, of course, society doesn't look like it does in the movies, but we're deteriorating to that point, and it'll be very soon. But we see despite all of the problems we've had in a few years with, you look at it from my perspective. If you're black in this world, it sort of seems like everybody fucking hates us, but we're still kicking. And as a country, we're taking hits, and we can host the world. Oof. I don't need that. Yeah, I made these when LTX first came out. So it was like the first initial models of using AI to make videos. And of course, you know, it looks obvious. I was trying to do sort of like that incursion movie, but yeah, all of the different videos I made for this one it has that early AI sort of, you can see sort of abstract look, and that was what I liked, because the music itself, to me anyway, is abstract. So the hard part was trying to get cohesive clips together that told a story as opposed to just a bunch of bullshit. But yeah, so I don't know, I like this end part. See what I'm saying? Abstract. Some of this shit, I didn't know what the fuck was doing. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to hear that, you could either watch the videos or you could buy it. Buy the EPs, $10, 6 songs, crazy shit. Anyway, just to sort of bring home everything with the podcast. Of course, again, this is all conspiracy, my thoughts, and it's not necessarily meant to say what I'm saying is going on, but I mean, I go back to that movie from Alex Jones, and I just remember some of the shit that we saw and how it looks now is so wild. Even, let's go back to another movie earlier in the series that you can actually go see now on Patreon. Besides subscribing to the channel, anybody watching this, you can also go to Patreon and watch the movies, and I give my analysis and see what I'm talking about. One of the things that we see that actually happening, but of course doesn't actually present itself the same way as you would see in the movies, is, remember in Judge Dredd, what does Judge Dredd say? I am the law, which means that you follow what I say, right? What do we see now in all these cop encounters online? What is the one thing they say? I'm giving you a lawful order. My point. When they say I'm giving a lawful order, that means follow what I say because I am the law. The day is long, the sun is hot. You might as well smoke if you got some pot. I'm out.